right, welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us again. If you are just joining us, this is New Day. Of course, our focus today is on the impact of COVID-19 in the education sector. Remember, you can be part of this discussion. Feel free to chime in. Give us a call on 0791-478990, or you can send us a text message again on 40920. We want to hear from you, especially if you are a parent at home watching us, and of course you have your children as well at home. What is it like? We want to hear from you again. Remember, 0791-478990 is the number to call through. But of course, in the studio, not in the discussion, in the studio, of course, my guests are here, Lawrence Setunga, Chairman, and that is on Early Childhood Development Education. Karibu sana. Thank you very much for making time for us. And we also have Peter Amunga, who is an education analyst. Karibu sana. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, remember, we'll be joined by Lawrence Njagi, who is the chair, Kenya Publishers Association. And later on, we're also expecting Secretary General for KUPPET, and that is Akello Misori, to just join us as well on set. But gentlemen, let me just start with you. Again, like I said, karibuni to our studios. Now we have all the children at home, from pre-primary all the way to the university level. All of them are at home, and we do not know when the schools will be reopening as well. Of course, there are no indications, or there are indications that preparations for closure taking longer time than it had been anticipated. So I'll start with you, Peter. So what does this mean for the education sector? Well, and especially the question that so many people are asking is now, what happens especially if this continues for longer until probably through the mid of the year or even closer to the end of the year? What does this mean? Will the children be promoted to the next class? Will they be forced to repeat? What happens to the school fees that the parents have paid? What do you make of this?
I think the Ministry of Education is trying to really come up with guidelines, and to come up with solutions on to what can really happen. But when you project what is really happening around the world, Kenya is not an island. You have to compare the country with the rest of the world. So what's happening is that we've seen that COVID-19 is not something that's going to go away in the next few days. This is something that the repercussions and the impact is going to take long. We are talking about earliest, actually, when we project comparing what's happening in the world, we talk about June. And if we delay schools from opening up to even just May this year, right now we're in April, what will happen is that obviously the national exams will have to be postponed, because even exams are not printed in Kenya. National exams in this country are printed in the UK. The UK is on lockdown. So that simply means that nothing is going on. The printing cannot even be happening right now. So meaning there will be a lot of delays. This thing is like, it will have several effects. So what's going to happen is that obviously there'll have to be delays. The COVID-19 is going to affect many other issues. And as the Deputy President has put it, he has just said a few minutes ago that they have talked to schools, principals, and the Ministry of Education to ensure that schools that are boarding schools can be turned into isolation centers, and maybe, to cater for people having the virus. Now, obviously, those schools, if in case they are taken, already we are seeing Lenana High School is a center, So what's going to happen is that you cannot just clear out of Lenana High School and 3 days after students go back to the school to learn. So obviously what's going to happen is that school need to have to go through what we call fumigation. Fumigation, yes. It also have to go through other issues and the stigma that may go with it. Because we expect parents and other learners to start saying, no, this school had this kind of people and are being treated in this place. So we expect those kind of issues to come up. So I can tell Kenyans, I've been in this field for some time now, that we need to prepare that either as a country may have to talk about promoting the children to the next class without an exam because of the 100% transition, whereby nowadays standard 8 can even go to Form 1. All of them go to Form 1. So they don't really need to do an exam to go to Form 1. That's my take.
So then can we learn a few lessons from COVID-19 and say, you know what, at the end of the day, we don't really need exams.
We don't need exam. So we just need to get the students to capture what they need to capture and move to the next class quickly.
All right. But then again, talking about this, of course, there will be delays, and this is not just about suspension of classes, but also that aspect of then fumigation. There's cases of stigma that, of course, might come, from the same. But then again, what happens to, those people who are saying, at the end of the day, we need to gauge whether this person is fit to go to the next class or not. And of course, we only can get that through, through an exam. Or better yet, that aspect of then exams are not being printed in the country. It has to come from the UK.
Yeah.
Can we then sort of revise and have, let's say, the Kenya Publishers Association to, print the exams, something like that, so that, again, because you see, there's that aspect of KCPE and KCSE. What happens to them?
That will bring about what we've been having called stealing of exams. And we have so many cartels. Actually, the Ministry of Education, the whole education sector in this country has been under some spell of cartels.
Yeah.
So that, I think Matiang'i, when he was the CS, and maybe now Magoha, what they've been trying to do is to eliminate the cartels. And one way to eliminate cartels was to cut off those kind of guys who may be involved in the printing and whatever. But you see, with the new curriculum also, the new curriculum that we now have, the CBC, CBC has done away with exams. Actually, they were talking about an exam in standard 3. You can see, the chair here will tell you for ECD. Students come from ECD to primary school without any exam. And so that transition is what now, post-coronavirus era, we must talk about exam. Must it really be there? Must we do exams? The developed countries don't have those exams. What we need to have is a great selection panel of how to get a child from, say, a school in Mukuru Kwanjenga slums into Lenana School or into Alliance High School. Which criteria do we use? Yeah, but that's the conversation that we as a country maybe need to have. But for now, we need to start thinking as Kenyans that some things that we've been doing, things will have to be done differently. Anyway, whether we like it or not, coronavirus has some good sides of the coin that's going to teach us how to behave in future.
We are learning a lot of lessons, from COVID-19, and that aspect of then we can do away with education. We'll have that discussion. Of course, we're expecting again the Secretary for KUPPET, who also give us his feel as far as education is concerned. But of course, right now we're joined by Lawrence Njagi, who is the chair, Kenya Publishers Association. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us in that aspect of examinations. Amunga is saying, you know what, we don't really need this, because at the end of the day, of course, first of all, and as far as KCPE and KCSE examinations are concerned, they're printed in the UK. So do you see this is a chance for you guys to sort of print the papers here in the country?
First of all, thank you for having me, and good afternoon. First of all, Kenya Publishers Association members don't publish exams.
Okay, but can you, given the COVID-19?
We could, because some of us have machinery, but I think the questions he's posing is probably bigger than just exams. Is should we have exams in the first place?
In the first place,
Then the second question is why exams in the first place? Why were they set? Why do we have exams? And if you do remember earlier on, is that the exams were as a standard of gauging how well the curriculum has been taught and how well the student has understood the content. But exams by themselves are not necessarily the end to an education system. It is very possible to do assessments and find out the child covered the necessary topics or the necessary strands to go to the next class, to transit to the next class. That is the most important thing, not about who has gotten an A, who has gotten a B. In any case, the new curriculum proponents that proposes that there should be no examination really, but should be assessed. Children should be assessed to know their readiness to the next class and how well they have understood the competencies that enable them, equip them for lifelong living, as opposed to passing examinations for the sake of it. So examinations should not be really our concern. Our concern should have the children covered the required syllabus topics to equip them with enough skills, attitudes, and knowledge to transit to the next level. Yes.
All right, and on your end, as Kenya Publishers Association, can you talk about how this has impacted your sector? Because someone might say, you know what, probably, you have already published, and of course they were rolled out, especially as far as CBC is concerned. But have you felt that impact as much?
I believe every sector in Kenya is feeling this impact. For the very first time, we are in this together. And for your information, I sit on the board of the International Publishing Association. We are feeling this at the global level, not just at the national level.
Okay.
So it is true, just like all the other sectors, education has been hit, and therefore publishers have been affected quite dramatically.
Okay.
We, of course, are trying to support the government in ensuring that learning continues as much as possible. So,
Okay, go on. All right, Lawrence Njagi over there, that is the chair, Kenya Publishers Association. Please stay with us. I will be engaging you very, very shortly. But for now, let's talk to Lawrence Otunga, who is the chair, ECD again. This aspect of, exams or no exams post-COVID-19, but even before that, right now, of course, the children are at home. And we know children are they're very smart, they're very intelligent. They learn especially by doing practical things and all that. But now that they are home, and especially the ones for ECD, so many parents will tell you, well, we're having a challenge as far as ensuring the structure in the house, ensuring that the children are still, learning in as much as, yes, they're not in school per se, but they are still learning at home. And of course, many of them are still facing this challenge. So can we talk about, some of the ways that parents can involve their children? They're still learning in as much as they're not in a learning environment per se.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, we have been really affected, and we all know that the children are not at home for holiday.
Yeah.
They're at home for a control measure to fight this COVID-19.
Yeah.
And, early childhood sector, or I can say the CBC classes, we are not highly affected with exam syndrome.
Per se, yes.
Yes, because you find that from class 8, class 5 upwards, those are the people who are worried of exams.
Yeah.
And right now, when children are at home, there are restrictions because they are not allowed to come out of their houses,
And
of
play
their
with
compounds and
friends.
play.
Yeah.
And these children at that level, they learn best through play.
True.
And if you don't tell them to go and play with their friends, then they really feel, in fact, they are disadvantaged.
Yeah, and most of them are not at that level where they can really understand.
Yeah,
what
they can't
COVID-19 is all
understand.
about.
And
Yeah.
that's why we've taken around almost a month at home. In fact, from 16th of last month, we are around 3 weeks, 4 weeks at home. And parents have really complained because controlling these children at home has been hectic.
It's difficult, yeah.
Compared to the 2 months or the December holidays we always have. Like last year, we closed the school at around towards the end of October. Then the whole of November, they were at home. The whole of December
they were at home
and the
as
first
well.
week of January.
Yeah.
And right now, within 3 weeks, parents have really complained on how to control these children because they keep on calling us.
Yeah.
So I can tell them not to be worried
Okay.
because we are not all that exam oriented, but we are also expected to keep them busy
yeah.
and engaged throughout.
Yeah.
And one of the things they can do, they can just liaise with the class teachers through the digital platforms, maybe WhatsApp, the Google Classroom, and to find out how to engage these children constantly,
Okay.
and also give them time to play in the house.
As well, yeah.
They can also try to be creative enough. They can also play with the children in the house
Yeah.
because that's what they enjoy most. And just to say something about the exams, the government can also decide to come up with a revised term dates. If we always have more than 2 months at home for the December holidays,
Yeah.
I think they can just decide and shorten those periods.
Okay.
Yeah, because after the end of the COVID-19, for example, if it ends the earliest in June, then I don't see the need of having the whole of August again at home and the
then
whole of November
November
and
and
December at
December,
home.
as
If that one can happen, then they can also find a good opportunity to postpone the exams,
Okay.
maybe to the third week of December, or even the first week of January next year, if they need exams.
Okay.
But due to that, the 100% transition, then
They don't need
they don't
exams.
need
This is what to
exams.
form.
And what they can also do,
Okay.
they can also come up with a standard measure of evaluating these learners to the next classes. Because it will be a burden to these parents for their learners or children to be allowed to resit these classes.
Yeah.
I know in the CBC classes or the ECD sector, we are not affected so much.
yeah.
The only problem you can experience with the salaries.
Yes.
Because the owners of private schools have taken advantage of this COVID-19. In fact, it is a blessing in disguise for them.
Yeah.
And to let you know, some of them have not even paid these teachers their much salaries.
Yeah.
Because they are now having that lame excuse
Yeah.
of not
Schools
earning
are
or
closed,
getting
so
the,
there's no,
the,
because
the
most of them
payment of
actually
fees.
get
And the
finances.
parents always pay fees. Most of them pay fees in time.
Okay.
And that one should not be an excuse to
An
deny these
excuse not
teachers
to
their
pay the
salaries. Even the
teachers.
counties,
Yeah.
they should
And
not deny
Yeah.
the teachers their salaries
Salaries as
as a result of the COVID-19.
COVID-19. All right, so all sectors have been affected. The Deputy President just said, talk to employers and urge them not to, again, lay off their employees, given
True.
the situation on what's happening. But that aspect of then, revising the term dates, do you think it's doable?
Yeah, it's doable. Actually, it's the only way out.
Okay.
There is no other possibility. In fact, Lawrence is talking of even June. Actually, I said June is the earliest.
The earliest.
But when I was listening to somebody on CNN, on one of the channels, and he was talking about in America, they're expecting everything to be maybe done away with in September.
Okay.
Now, that is the US. No, we are not talking about Kenya yet, and Africa. And you see the effects of the virus is starting now. It's just now when it's starting to be felt.
Okay.
In other countries like Italy, it has already been felt. The curve is now flattening.
Yeah.
For us, the curve is not even yet at where they are projecting it to be. So term dates will have to be revised.
Okay.
And when they are revised, we're expecting that maybe now, we hope there will be a conversation. And that's why I really request the Minister of Education, not just to make decisions alone. They must meet with all stakeholders, who include the unions, who include the parents' associations, who include associations of special bodies and other interested parties and parents, to talk about what is the way forward.
Yeah.
Post-corona era is going to be a different era.
Yeah.
There's going to be a new world order. That's what I've been saying on my Twitter account, that we have to do things differently.
And of course, we'll continue with that discussion. SecGen for Kupet is here, Akello Misori is here, and of course, he will be joining us very shortly. But for now, let's take a very short break. Remember, like we said, you can be part of this discussion. Give us a call on 0791 478990. We'd also want to hear from you, especially from the parents who are at home, and even the teachers as well. How are we handling this situation? And that is during this time of COVID-19. So stay with us. We'll be right back with more on the impact of COVID-19 on the education sector. Stay with us. Right, and we are back. Thank you so much for staying with us. Remember, our focus of discussion today is on the impact of COVID-19 on the education sector. Again, if you want to be part of this discussion, 0791 478990 is the number to call through. And of course, we also want to hear from you. And of course, right now, Kupet Secretary General Akello Misori is on the table. Karibu sana. We really, really appreciate your time. But before we get your feedback, as far as earlier on, before you came, we were discussing about exams. No exams. What happened? Will the children or the learners be forced to repeat, some of the classes? So we want to hear your feedback as well on the same. But before that, we also have Lawrence Njagi, who is the chair, Kenya Publishers Association, on Skype. So, of course, Njagi, like we said, all sectors have been affected. Of course, things have to change. So many changes have to be made, not only in the education sector, but in general, and especially in the Kenya and the globe. So as the Kenya Publishers Association, what are some of the things that you see changing as far as the curriculum is concerned?
Thank you very much, and greetings to my friend Misori there. Yes, indeed, as I was beginning to say, is that we are seeing children and schools and parents moving towards e-learning, which is a blessing, because outside South Africa, it's only Kenya that has really prepared well in terms of digital content, in terms of digital delivery of that content. And that is why today, when this COVID came up, despite, we did not prepare for it, nobody invited it.
Yeah.
But you could see the reaction from both the members of Kenya Publishers Association, the government, and the Ministry of Education and KICD. We were able to put up a very strong and quick program. As you are aware, there is a Edu channel, which is basically delivering content to children as we speak. We have the radio sessions, again giving content from KICD. And most importantly, we have the Kenya Education Cloud, where you can access free of charge all our good books. So in supporting the children learning at home, we have allowed free access to both public and private schools and learners. Learners I'm talking about, they are not public or private students. They are all Kenyan students. We have allowed them free access to all our material, so that they do not have to stop learning. Of course, it has a lot of financial implication on the members, because it means giving out content and they will not be paid for that content. But these are unusual times. And as a Kenya Publishers Association, we felt obliged to give that content to ensure children continue learning. So it has impacted everybody in ways we can't imagine. Right now, I'm doing Skype with you from home. I should have been either in the office or in a studio, but tough decisions. And you can see now we are preparing materials for grade 5. They were supposed to have been submitted for approval on the 6th of April. We had to postpone that to allow for more time for people to work on. But we do believe that, God willing, that everything will be back to normal. All indications, this is my personal opinion, that everything should be back by end of June, July. And of course, we also need to take into account the mental health of our learners.
Learners as well.
Remember, they're also going through this, through it as well. The anguish on their side could even be greater than we think. And so I would really urge that even when we go back, counseling becomes a major aspect of the school curriculum, so that the children are able to be mentored, be kind of smoothed through all this.
Okay. And one last question, Mr. Njagi, before I let you go. That aspect of, yes, you've said you have offered free access to materials. And of course, this is cuts across the public, private, and all learners, they can access your materials. But then again, there's that aspect of not so many people or not so many homes in the country have access to internet. Some do not have access to TVs, others to, radio and all those things. So then what happens to this special group, and especially in the marginalized communities? What happens to the learners there?
That's just a tough one, because it's actually very true that some areas don't even have electricity. But at least when we use a three-pronged approach, in towns you'll find most of them have internet, gadgets, they'll have phones and all that, so they can access the content. In rural areas, today quite a number of them have televisions. But most importantly, almost every home today we have, there's a telephone, there's a phone. They transact M-Pesa, transact other things. So it is very possible that they can actually access internet through those phones. Of course, at worst, we have a radio. Almost every home has a radio, one form of radio or the other. As a matter of fact, you can also access radio on your mobile phone. So it will not reach, but it will cover at least some reasonable ground in terms of getting content to the learners. Yes.
Okay.
So we are not 100% there yet.
Yeah.
There's something being done.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Sir Lawrence Njagi, Chair of Kenya Publishers Association. Thank you so much for joining us via Skype and, of course, giving us insight on how best we can use this opportunity to ensure that all the learners still get the materials that they need and they not only, just stay at home and do nothing. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And, of course, yeah, because, again, at the end of the day, we have to admit the fact that not so many homes have access to internet, TV, radio, but again, what best can we do? And of course, I want to pose this question to Peter Amunga, who is an education analyst. That aspect of then, especially to these families who do not have access to any of this, what happens? Should we use like local chiefs, area chiefs to ensure that at least in one way or the other, the children still gets, the materials they need?
You see, what I always say is that nothing can replace a teacher. A teacher, especially the human teacher, standing in front of a classroom, nothing in this world can replace a teacher. But when such a situation calls, we don't do things the same way. Museveni yesterday said something like, in abnormal times, you stop being normal.
You stop being normal. Even the president
Museveni has a way of putting it. So things will have to change, as I've kept on saying. And the laptop project that we had as a country is a project that I've said, and I'll say again, was one of the good ideas. Because a laptop or a digital device will come with the content already inside. And maybe what would have just happened would have been to train the parents on how to power up the device, how to operate up, and how the child can be directed to know that today is Monday, because it comes fitted with all the lessons and everything else. It would have really helped in such a situation. But you see, we messed it up as country, as Kenyans. We even politicized it, and we made it to become like for standard one. It became like something just like a joke, and that's why it kind of faded. But that's a great idea. And that is why some countries right now, which are on lockdown, are using it. Because they've given their children those devices. And teachers, and I've seen in private schools what they're doing now, and some other schools that are doing very well, the teachers are still going to school and having a cameraman, and they are able to direct those lessons. So for the poor families, what we can just advise for now is that things are changing. It's no longer about whether you are poor or you come from marginalized areas. Things are changing. Expensive. Education is expensive. You must invest in it. These things that we used to be told that free education, these things may not be there in the post-coronavirus era. And Jackie is my friend. Even publishers, we may have to do away with some of them. Some of them are also cartels. Time has also come for them also now to start thinking of how to give back to those poor families. It is them, because they have the contents. But they've been putting it in books. And because there are some tenders, some very lucrative tenders that my friends in Jagi's group have been having to supply books. So you see, those books, some of them cannot now be used. If we had digital or online materials, it would have really helped us in such a time.
In such a way. So they have to come up with ways to ensure that all the learners, doesn't matter where you come from, have access to the material. All right. Now for SecGen, Kupet SecGen, of course, Akello Misori, again, that aspect of, you wanted the examinations to be postponed. But then again, not on the other hand say, no, we cannot have the exams, postponed. So again, because of course that aspect of anxiety, in schools, you cited anxiety in the school system. And of course, this will not allow learners to sit for their examination, especially those who will be sitting for the KCP and KCSE examination. So do you still hold that position?
Thank you so much, and thank you for also inviting me for this very important debate at this particular time. I must just say that the position has not changed because the situation is even worsening. As I found you here, you are trying to discuss how that thing will work. And you realize that the first term did not end. We called students home at the presidential pronouncement, which was necessitated by the state of affairs. Schools were going to be centers of congregation, which would have made the situation worse. And more so anxiety, as I say. The learning calendar has been disrupted. And I also heard you talk about repeating. There's nobody repeating here. We are calling for a change or an amendment to the term calendar, which will also change the the semester at the university.
University level,
So
yeah.
that is the issue which is there. It is important for us to understand that. Only the people who are disadvantaged, are those people who are hoping to join school,
Yes.
that's the PP1. In this circumstance, they are the ones who are already disadvantaged. But already these are unprecedented days.
Times, yeah.
My late dad, who went to the Second World War and also died as a teacher, told me stories of the Second World War. And he did not tell me the stories that I am now watching on TV every day, in CNN, April TV, in BBC, and our newsrooms. Everything is very awkward. And as other people are saying that these are abnormal circumstances, we must accept that we are not supposed
We're
to focus
operating
on
the
what we
same.
call exams.
Yeah.
Exams are not education. You know, the exams are just means of evaluating what people know. And maybe for the sake of those who are in class 8, they are supposed to go to Form 1. But which Form 1 are you going to? When those who are in Form 1 have not gone to Form 2.
Form 2.
Are you seeing this thing?
Yes.
So there is need, the world is not coming to an end because we have not done exam.
Yes.
And our focus should not be on class 8 and Form 4. And maybe those who are supposed to exit to go to employment. That situation has been disrupted. The whole economy is down. Our focus as at now should be at least to give support to those people who are on the front line. We should direct all our energies to look at how we are feeding our people, how those people who are already infected are being taken care of. You realize that this thing has really exposed us, and we are having new horizons of learning, that even those people we respect most, like the US, China, and even Spain, Italy, and the UK, the Prime Minister of UK is under intensive care unit as we talk.
At the moment, yeah.
These are issues which need us to reflect. As a country, we should even now reinvest so much in focusing what is our philosophy of education.
Yeah.
We need to become very reliant.
Okay.
Because if the people who usually give us aid are now looking for the same aid,
Yeah.
yet we need to prepare our own masks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kenyan industry cannot provide masks.
Masks.
And that is a basic requirement to stop even that infection.
Okay.
It should be at the center of that infection.
All right.
My sister, what I'm saying, and let me tell the rest of the world, that we have no option. The exams will have to be rescheduled.
Okay.
And the term
Everything.
dates must be revised.
Okay.
Because if we didn't complete term 1, not for just some few schools, but for everybody.
Everybody.
So you are not talking about repeating. We are only going to start where we left. And even if we are going to start from where we left, we have to move further.
Okay.
I am seeing something, a debate which publishers, my friend Jagi, are talking about, that Kenya is ahead and so on. Going by last year's census results, it is an indication that Kenyan public, many of them do not have TV, do not have radios. And the majority of these children who were asked to go back home are in these homes.
Yeah.
So what are they
happens to
telling
them?
us?
Yeah.
What are they
Okay.
telling us? That every home can afford a TV,
Yeah.
can afford a radio. At this particular time, in point where there is a lot of anxiety, the same TV is also being used by the same parent who want to know
What
where,
is
where is the state
happening?
of Kenya in this.
Yeah.
And the person from the university also wants to assess his
What is
his or her
happening.
exam
Yes.
or her program.
Yeah.
Where will somebody in class
Get
3
time.
get time to
To-
look at
to
the same
learn.
TV?
And that is a question I also wanted
this,
to
This is
pose.
something which
Yeah.
is unique.
Yeah. And we have to deal with
we
it
have to deal
as-
with it.
as it
And as
is.
Mr. Munga said, I think I must also add a voice there. There is no technology which can replace a teacher.
True.
The most of those parents are only using the TV and the radio to socialize the children, because they also fear, because nobody is going outside the house.
But you see, even
you
most
see
of
this
them,
thing?
most of the parents are also working from home. So really,
Most
they
of the
also have
parents
to
are working
focus
from
on
home.
work
And if
the
they're working
children
from
as
home,
well.
they're using the same gadgets.
Yes.
So I think nobody carried out a survey
Yeah.
to realize the impact. What will happen in doing this?
Okay.
So we are impulsively responding to circumstances which we cannot control.
Okay.
And when you talk about providing education, for what? Is it for what? You know, for amusement or for something else? Yeah.
For entertainment.
For entertainment. All right, let's get Lawrence Otunga's, pick on this and that aspect of, yes, fine. So parents, everybody wants to know what's happening, and not only in the country, but also around the globe. And that aspect of what, Misori is saying is parents want to understand what is going on, so we want to watch news. Then we also have university students also want to understand what's going on. And then there's this aspect of then primary school learners also have a program on TV that they need to watch and learn. And then we also have now the ones for ECD. So what happens, to them? Then do the parents then transform into teachers? What happens? Because at the end of the day, the children have to keep on learning. The parents who are working from home, again, need to continue working, but at the same time, also get informed on what's happening in the country and outside.
And the TV is one.
And the TV is one, for most families, at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a very big challenge. In fact, what most people are doing, especially in private sector, they're trying to introduce the digital learning platforms.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that thing is not even effective. I'm in charge of a group of schools, and we've tried to introduce that platform. It is working, yes, but it's only working to the high-class parents.
Yeah, very few.
Telling a parent who does not even know how to operate or to access the email account to go and access a Google Classroom or even connect to your classroom through the Zoom and whatever is not possible. So all the things we are doing in the house are just to engage these children, but it is not effective.
Yeah.
You know, children at ECD level, their concentration span is low, is little. And in fact, you cannot tell them to listen to a radio for even 35 minutes.
True.
And you are a parent, you are not even trained on how to control this child throughout that period.
Yeah.
So whatever has been introduced by the government is working, yes, but we are far much from achieving the objectives.
Okay.
And it is an eye-opener to the government. We really need to invest in education, especially in those devices. Whatever my brother was saying, the laptop project, the government should try and revive it and ensure that each and every child in the nation, each and every family can access it. Telling a child, in fact, if you have a child in ECD level, primary level, lower primary, then upper primary, then high school. If you have those categories, then you cannot even spare time to tell them to access those platforms, to listen to radio or TV, and you also have something to do at home. And you have one house.
So then
you know, even there are parents who are even staying in one room.
In one room, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. So then what do we do? Because again, at the end of the day, life has to go on. COVID-19, post-COVID-19, life has to go on. Children have to keep learning because, again, if then they stay at home without learning, without doing anything, it becomes very difficult, and it will be a very big challenge for most of them to go back, to either learning or the system if we do not have anything for them. So then what do we do? I mean, moving forward, and especially for those, very young children, the ones in ECD, do we use their older brothers to teach them? What happens now?
The older brothers will beat them because those children are stubborn.
Patience, maybe they don't
They are
have
not even patient enough.
Yeah.
What we can tell them, the parents should work close with the teachers.
Okay.
If you have the contacts, let them work close with the teachers. And in fact, some of them can even get those work, the literacy, things to be read. Those who are in the WhatsApp and Facebook and all those things, they can even take photos and exchange, tell the child to read, and then you send back to the teacher. You can even record an audio or a video, something which can make the child active and even engage the child. But it is not 100% perfect because it is involving. Yeah, even those TV stations you are watching, you are paying for them, and you are not going for work. Where are you getting that money from? But the parents should not give up. Let them continue engaging these teachers and the employers, the county governments, the employers of early childhood teachers, and even the private sector. Let them also try and motivate these teachers because it is not their fault. They are not the people who imported this virus to Kenya. So they should not try and take that advantage of trying to maybe to undermine or to frustrate these teachers.
teachers as
Let
well.
them encourage them, at least motivate them to always engage these parents in both sectors. Because you can't do that without paying them. At least when they see something at the end of the month,
All right.
they'll be able to constantly engage these
The
children
teachers
and
and
the
the-
parents through
yeah.
all those platforms.
Okay.
Yes.
So
There's
just
something-
try as much as possible and make do. Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
there's something that SG Akello Misori said. Is it education for education's sake? You know, the question that should be on our lips as Kenyans now, and Akello puts it very well, is the philosophy of education. It's a whole topic I did in the university when I was studying being a teacher. The philosophy of education. What is the philosophy that we have? And that philosophy will have to change.
Okay.
It can't be the same that we have been having over the years. And that's why I tend to agree with Akello and his team at Kupet, because they seem to be on the ground and they seem to be doing some research. The issue is not about exams. The issue is not just about finish school and go where. You know, that is what philosophy of education is all about. Finish school and then what? So, you know, once you start thinking in that level, you are now at the high level of thinking. You're not just thinking like everybody else. And that is even our media and our people as Kenyans. And my biggest problem, Brother Akello, and I'll say it on this TV show, is our politicians.
All right.
Our politicians have always given a wrong notion. Even the issues you hear that some people come up and say that, Nat has said, may not even be Nat. Maybe Nat has not had a meeting to talk. That could just be somebody with a political mind giving his political opinion. It's not an expert opinion that we should have exams in the next 2 weeks. We can't have exams in the next 2 weeks. That is a fact. So what I can say is we must now start talking about the philosophy of education in the post-corona era.
But now we are in the situation. You see, post-corona, maybe we can look at it after, post-corona. But for now, what happens right now?
My sister, I think we should not belabor on this.
Okay.
Because we are saying we are in unprecedented days.
True.
The circumstances force us now to have the children at home when they're supposed to be at school. And why? The state of war, when you look at the head of state address, he's saying that this is a war, we are not using guns or even people in uniform. But the people in the front line are supposed to be nurses, medical staff, and so on. In fact, in a state of war, I started by telling you that my late dad, who went to the Second World War, told me that he was told to leave school to go to war.
Yeah.
We as Kenyans, we may be called upon to join forces to educate the public. In fact, that is what the teachers should do now. And that's what we have asked our teachers. Be creative enough to engage your minds, to come up with strategies on how we can come out of this situation, how best we can teach our population not to disregard the directions given by the Minister for Health. These are the things that we need to be doing. Let us design lessons which can reach to parents. Using this thing, what is being told to us that they were being developed by the publishers and so on are mere opinions, I would say. There was no advanced consultation because even I don't know why they were in a hurry to develop a timetable. Those timetables are run for 20 minutes. A normal lesson runs for 35 minutes for primary schools. And for high schools, it is 40 minutes. So in a case whereby you are giving the child, the learner, 20 minutes to learn, and the gadget is also not reliable. So how are you, what are you communicating? Why are you in such a hurry? It was, my colleagues are saying, this method is containing people at home. That is the best we can do. And I am repeating, we cannot replace a teacher in this circumstance. That interaction with the teacher and the child is very, very essential. But we now learn also that the circumstances now force us to develop an elaborate digital content which we can use in times of emergency, which we can, but nobody was prepared for this. So nobody can tell us that whatever they're giving is sufficient. There's no, because in this nation, we know very well how we live and how this process is not there. The teachers were not even ready for it, and they could not be ready because of it just came abruptly. Even the publishers, the content was not verified. So in the circumstance, what we are saying, let me revisit this. The philosophy of education should be geared towards certain objectives. In our circumstance, we must now be debriefing our children that the circumstances do not allow us
For
to,
us to,
to have
yeah.
normal learning.
All right.
We will resume
Okay,
learning.
yeah.
But meanwhile, can you entertain yourself with these storybooks? Can you listen to these lessons? The reason for which we are saying this,
Yeah.
there is assumption from KICD that all schools were running at the same pace in
No,
terms of
They had
curriculum
covered
implementation.
Yes, okay.
So, which is not true.
That's true.
Okay.
And for example, there are some schools which already were almost completing the syllabus, especially for Form 4.
Okay.
But are there others which are not even started Form 3
As well,
because
yeah.
of the geographical environments where they come
Differences,
from,
yeah.
and so on.
Okay.
So for now, let us stop the people's anxiety about exams.
Okay.
Let us tell them exams will be done, and we should only plan on how it
we'll
will
do
be
it
done
after.
and when
All
it will
right.
be done.
Because even some
Yeah.
parents were saying, you know, children are actually asking, why are we not in school?
Yes.
And most of them are asking, so then when do we resume school?
When
So,
to
so many
school.
questions,
Yes.
very difficult questions even for the parents. So we have to end the show right now. So I want to get your parting shots in like 30 seconds. Can we do that? 30 seconds. As far as the education sector is concerned, and how best can we use this moment to ensure that the learners are also still engaged? 30 seconds each.
Coronavirus has some blessings that
Okay,
this is going
in
to
it.
change our thinking and our mindset. And the education sector will not be left behind. But the good thing is that Kenyans and this country, people are going to become more sensitive to know and to demand for quality education.
Education.
People are going to discover that now is not time. Those jokes that we have been doing, those wishy-washy programs, lack of policy, political statements, roadside statements, will have to stop. People will have to think and consult widely. And unions, all stakeholders, parents, everybody will have to be involved in the post-corona era.
All right, thank you very much.
Let me just say that I would wish to ask our members not to be very anxious.
Okay, and especially the teachers. 'cause
The
they are
teachers should not be
studying,
very
yeah.
anxious. They should use this time productively to make the whole concept sink into the minds. We should be flag bearers in terms of disseminating information. This is the time for us to create moments to do survey, to do research, to enable us to come up with solutions.
Okay.
It is now going to be incumbent upon us that as teachers, we should not just be consumers of knowledge. We should create knowledge, and we should force it on the country
All right.
and on our clients.
Thank you very much,
Thank
sir. I
you.
appreciate it. Lawrence?
Parents at home should come up with ways of engaging children in the house. Let them play. In fact, if they want to be firm on the children, and the children are already frustrated, then the worst will happen.
Yeah.
Let them play. In fact, I saw a parent who was trying to imitate the driver. The passengers were at the back, and these passengers were the children, a small child and the other one at the back, and they were driving, imitating the conductor and the bus driver. Those things are in fact, they can even engage the children than even the TV programs. Number two, the government and all the employers should now know the importance of these teachers, even the parents. Let them value. And the teachers I represent, let them now be valued, because their absence, in fact, has made the parents know that learning cannot go on without a teacher, and there is no device which can replace the teachers.
teacher.
And I wish them all the best, because we are praying that after this, all the teachers in all the sectors will have to go back in the school, and learning will resume as usual.
Will resume. All right. So in the meantime, do not be anxious. It's going to be okay. We're going to beat this. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Lawrence Otunga, Chair, Early Childhood Development Education. Thank you very much. Akello Misori, of course, Corporate Secretary General. Appreciate your time, and not forgetting Peter Amunga, who is an education analyst. Thank you so much for coming by today. Please stay safe.
Stay safe.
Wherever you are.
Yeah,
and we have our masks.
Yes. Oh, you have your
Even
mask.
sanitizer.
I also have mine.
Even the
That is so
sanitizer.
good, you know. That is very, very good.
Yeah.
So stay safe with your friends and family. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And of course, also as we wind up, of course, you know, that aspect of just let's take a look very briefly at what's happening in the, you know, international scene. So this is the numbers, what we are dealing with at the moment. 1,484,811. This is the total confirmed cases. And we're talking about globally. We have 88,538, and this is the global deaths that have been reported. And of course, 184 countries or regions have been again affected by the global COVID-19. So that is what we are looking at, right now, as far as just the COVID-19, cases are concerned in the country. So I mean, in the global village, let's just say that. And of course, in the country, we're dealing with 179 confirmed cases as at now. But of course, we expect, the Health Cabinet Secretary, that is Mutahi Kagwe, to give us a brief as far as what is the situation like in the country. So what we are reminded to do as a people, as Kenyans, the Deputy President has spoken a few minutes ago, and he has really emphasized that aspect of working together as a country, and that is Kenyans together with the health workers as well, to ensure that we halt the number of cases in the country. Because remember, again, health workers, most of them don't even go home to be with their families because they have to deal with this. They have to attend to the patients. So we can do our best, and that is by maintaining, the basics. Make sure that you wash your hands with running water and soap. But if you are in an area where there's no water and soap, please make sure that you sanitize as often as possible and maintain social distancing. Very, very important. And even right now, of course, all Kenyans are required to wear masks in public places. So again, if we all do that, again, we'll help in one way or the other to curb the spread of COVID-19 in the country. So we have to end it here today on New Day. My name is Winnie Lubembe. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. I hope that you've grasped a lot from today's discussion, and that is on the impact of COVID-19 in or on the education sector. So all the parents out there, again, make sure that you try as much as possible and keep the children as busy. That is as far as learning is concerned. But what the experts have said, gentlemen that I had today on said, is do not panic. It's going to be okay. So my name is Winnie Lubembe, wishing you a lovely day ahead. Please stay safe. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place for New Day. But for now, it's a goodbye. God bless.